Hi, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm Jennifer Bagley. I am joined by my amazing co-host, Chuck Staszkiewicz, 6E6 Wixes. And I have to do that. You
I'm
guys,
so
thank
glad
you
you
so
did
much.
it. Because
Yes,
I was
thank
struggling.
I
I thought the first question you would ask me is how to pronounce his name, and
okay, try it. Paul, you do the introduction. Introduce the two hosts.
everyone welcome. I've got Jennifer Bagley here today, CEO of CI Web Group, and I've got Chuck Staszkiewicz. I had it in my head. Staszkiewicz.
You know, it's really funny because I can
Wits.
tell when telemarketers are calling me and they say, "How do you pronounce it?" And I'm just like, "Sir."
I bailed halfway through stats. Like I had it in my head, and then I don't know where the ski came from. Like that's another conversation. But like I bailed on it and just made up something. I didn't even like commit to the landing. So I'm sorry, Chuck.
You got to commit,
Jen,
right?
Jen,
Good, bad, or indifferent. You have to
by
commit every time.
Jen, by episode 50, can we get it right?
I'm
Like we're halfway there.
They're going to be able to do a bloopers reel with just me attempting to say his last name 300 times. And it's different every time. Like I didn't even find the mispronunciation and stick to that version. I just keep retrying.
Yeah.
Staszkiewicz.
You got it. Paul, see? You nailed it.
I just had to focus and commit and use common sense. Like that could be the theme of this. Like you see something challenging, right? And you immediately, it's Staszkiewicz, exactly as it's spelled, and I'll remember how to spell it. So anyhow.
Staszkiewicz.
There you go, Jen.
Staszkiewicz.
Oh, it's super
easy. I like my other version so much better, though. I feel like it's just fun.
It looks way harder than it is, and it took me till I was about 11 to spell it. So yeah, it is harder than it is.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you guys so much. We are very excited. We have an awesome guest today, Mr. Paul Redman with Contractor Commerce. We're so happy to have you today.
Yeah, thank you. I've been a fan of yours and your teams for years, and it's good that our paths have crossed. So glad to be here.
I spent a lot of time with your, I don't even know what you call it. Now I'm sure taking an awesome sabbatical, but Will is amazing. He and I connected like this from day one. Tell us a little bit about your journey and getting connected with Will and the Contractor Commerce mission.
Yeah, so I'm surprised you knew about his sabbatical. So Will's super private and quiet. Not a lot of people know what he does or where he is, but yeah, he is somewhere in the United States right now, not on email. We have talked one time since March 1st. And I think there is a conversation scheduled for the end of June or somewhere in July, but he's doing great. But how we met, so, I started in the HVAC industry right out of college. I'll spare you a really long story, but the first real company to give me a shot at employment, that was the requirement. I just needed employment. Was a manufacturer. And so I started in field sales and I knew nothing about the industry, zero. And so I would Google all sorts of things that I could learn about HVAC and running an HVAC business so that I had like some context when I would go meet with my customers, who I would learn from as well. But through that process, I would read blogs and articles on HVAC.com of all places. And the majority of the content was written by Will because Will was the founder and running the president of HVAC.com for a long time. So I became familiar with his content and also had some shared similarities. We're both from Ohio. We're both about the same age. We're both pretty young parents. We both share similar faith, those sort of things. And
you're almost the same height too, right?
There's a little bit of a difference in height. Yeah, a little bit of a difference in height, but we see eye to eye. That's what we say. But,
like 5 feet.
No. Will's above average. I think he's 6 feet tall. I'm 6'8". So, but you're tall. You're really tall.
I am.
Are you over 6 feet?
I'm 6 feet.
Okay, I was going to say that was one of the surprises when I first met you. I was like, Jennifer, she's got some presence. She rolls in here.
Yeah, I'll throw on 3-inch heels in a second too, just so I can try and be close to you.
Right. So long story short, I spent about 10 years with a manufacturer, but during that process, had met Will at an ACA show, just went over, this is probably 2014, 2015, somewhere in that area. And we shook hands and then we just became friends, and we shared the same view of the industry, that contractors were overlooked and technology was coming so fast. The same theme that really has been around forever, but he and I were really committed to it. And it was around 2020 that our friendship turned into, the world is changing. For contractors aren't even allowed in people's homes right now, and people are really obsessed about indoor air quality. Those were just two of the things at the time. And then we really took a step back and said, man, everyone shops online for just about everything. Look at the auto industry. Let's partner up and build this category of e-commerce for contractors. And so that's where I entered the picture. But you were hanging out with Will before that, which is not common.
Yeah, I can't even remember how I got connected with him, but it took one conversation. I tend to be attracted to those people who can see the future. I grew up with my dad was a developer, and he was also like the first. He was the first guy to make 2D video games. He was the guy who said this was way back when checks came out, but you couldn't use a check at a grocery store because they couldn't verify funds. And so he was on the development team that took check and built a data processing thing. Remember it was big, long thing. You put a check through it and it scanned the check. Yeah, he did that. 2D video games. He was just brilliant, and he could always see forward. And he was the first on every team to develop new technology that made life easier or made life more convenient or gave you better access to more factual or truthful data or information. And so when I met Will, I was like, oh, you're it, my friend. Yes, absolutely. The Carvana of HVAC. This is amazing. It was really exciting. So yeah, I spent a lot of time with him. I think we were the first marketing agency as an early adopter, and built a pretty good pipeline of clients utilizing Contractor Commerce. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you were out way ahead of the market, as you are in a lot of things. And, you said something about when you met Will. By the way, he would be, I don't know if mortified is the right word, but like he would be fast forwarding through this part where we're talking about him, because he truly is like, this is not his thing. But the minute I met him too, I was like, yep, he's the guy. He's the guy I'm going to go with. And there's only a few people you can take a chance on, when you cross paths. And so, yeah, he's got that, but he's also, I truly mean this, all he cares about work-wise is if our customers are, and I'm saying a quote here, using and loving our product. That is it. He doesn't want to be known as the guy who changed the industry or introduced e-commerce or did all these things. He's behind the scenes and just obsessed with our customers' success. And that's how we operate the business today. But it's become a good friend and a good business partner. So,
it's really interesting. Both of you talked about seeing into the future and where the direction of things are going. And I saw a really interesting interview yesterday, all about the AI revolution, right? And technology revolution. And you got to weed through the noise to pick up the good snippets right now, right? Is what I'm finding. But this interview was really amazing in the sense that the guy was talking about, we are going into this undervaluating the AI revolution. If you think about the .com, you think about the internet and how that evolved, and AI has been around for 30 years. We just are now starting to it's really mainstream, right? And people, the way he was describing it is what it's going to do for businesses and how it's going to like increase the GDP and all the like efficiencies and all this stuff, right? And it's like people are hesitant right now, but it's shifting so fast with it. And it's just amazing for me to be able to pick up a little snippet like that and say, okay, what am I not seeing right now? And there's so many different platforms and AIs and these things coming out, right? And it's like, what do I focus on now? And it's like, not focus on right now, but what's going to be 6 months from now, a year from now. And a lot of contractors don't think like that. They think I'll just get into the truck and do the job and make
Mm.
money, right? Instead of saying, okay, how can I revolutionize my business 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? And if you think about it, right, like the mom and pops are not going to be here very much longer. The companies that have been, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, the companies that have been small for 30 or 40 years, right, and 2 or 3 trucks, that's not going to stay around. They're going to adopt and overcome. There's not going to be the smaller guys anymore because the technology is going to increase them so much further. And Paul, I love, I just looked up the contractors commerce. I mean, selling filters and equipment online, like, how can you adopt and put that into your business and become, I mean, you've got a lot of major players already doing this, right? Like, it's incredible. So where do the guys that are 2 or 3 trucks right now start to think about this, right? And I had a thing in my business is, I saw companies putting things in at 30 million, 40 million, and I was doing it like thinking that 6 months, a year ahead of time. It's like, okay, if they're doing it at 30 million, I'm going to do it at 25 million or 20 million, right? So I'm just a little bit ahead of the curve. Not to go too far. When I'm $1 million company, I'm not going to do exactly what the $20 million a year company is doing, but I'm going to look for things that'll fit where I'm at on my journey. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And as you think about like what you said, where you're trying to look 6 months out, how do you add technology and leverage AI to grow faster and be bigger? And I assume what you meant was like the 2 or 3 truck, 2 or 3 person, $2 or $3 million shop are going to be around because they're going to grow, right?
Yes.
What I think about is looking backward. And I learned this through a coach that I used. And the concept is around like paying off your growth debt. So to go from 0 to 2 million or from 2 million to 10 million, right? You had to do some things. Well, surely along that path, there are things you didn't do. And adding technology on top of that growth, that debt, for lack of a better word, to grow faster is a recipe for disaster, right? That's a company that gets to 20, $30 million, has very, very little EBITDA, trades for nothing when they're sold to a big private equity company, and that $2 million company's gone. So what I'm thinking about for my customers right now, I mean, I talk to customers today who are $10 million companies with no membership agreements and no membership plan in place.
Absolutely.
These are awesome companies that are, market leading companies that they just grew too fast, or they were focused on other things and they missed that, right? And so what I'm thinking about is how can you use technology to go back and examine your debt, right? Examine the things you've missed and then accelerate the catch up or the debt payoff period, right? Because if you can pay off that debt, like not having a membership plan in place, or you'd be surprised at how many, you wouldn't be surprised at this, but the in-home selling process for 90, again, this is a number that I'm pulling out of thin air, but I would say for 90 to 95% of residential companies in the US is not in alignment with the values of the founder of that company. What happens in the home, and companies like Rilla, or there's others out there who are now recording calls, like there's elements now to examine this stuff, but what is happening, like it doesn't take AI to send a customer a text message and let them know that the technician's on the way, but how many people actually do that, right? And then how many people are doing that on top of all the other things they've signed up for, where now their customer communication and messaging is completely scattered because they've just become a technology trying center. So that's what I woke up with on my mind today, is like, you don't have to necessarily pile things on to go faster. Like, look at the debt you've created. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. This is interesting. So I'm going to give you a scenario and think through it this way. So right now, AI in its consumer form is something that someone has to introduce you to. You've got to download the app or go to the site and utilize that platform. right? And once you do, you all of a sudden become a 50 to 1-er. You're operating at 50 times the rate as somebody who's not utilizing it. Valuable. At any size business, startup, one person right out of the gate. So let's fast forward a little bit. If you look at the roadmaps for, just take the top 5, top 4, take Google, Meta, Apple, Amazon, and look at their 6-month roadmap. Their 6-month roadmap is native AI integration, replacing the existing hardware and software that you have built into every device you're already walking around with. You're already talking to Siri. You're already talking to Alexa. I can't say the other one's name because it will start talking back to me. She's over there. Right. Look at the number of smart devices you have in your home. So the average is like 20 per home. As AI replaces the dumb version of Siri, the dumb version of Alexa, the dumb version of her over there, and so forth. And that happens in an update while you sleep. Right. You go to sleep, it says there's a new update, you wake up, and all of a sudden, AI V1, which is conversational AI, exists tomorrow. AI V2 is an agentic agent that can perform tasks and functions for you. It can do the work. It's your new VA that knows you inside and out, right? If you think about what's stored in this phone has all your credit card information, all your personal data, your address automatically populates, all your personal preferences, everything that you want, right? And this phone now becomes your VA. So if the consumers between the next 3 and 6 months, native devices now have a built-in virtual assistant that can do the research, find whatever they need, book the appointment, have a conversation with a company or another AI in a different language inside Gibberlink, that already exists. An AI to an AI conversation, if it takes us 30 minutes to have a conversation, in Gibberlink, it can happen in 3 seconds. And they can get all the information that they need. So the necessity, that we're looking at 6 months from now, we're going to start seeing very little interaction with even a website.
Right.
Because now your website becomes a conduit, a content distribution network to the LLMs, providing answers for consumers. It's not the kitchen table, right? These conversations are happening way before a kitchen table. Yeah. And that's your at bat. So, this is, on one hand, I want to tell entrepreneurs, get your stuff together. AI can help you accomplish all the things, like you said, Paul, you're not getting to that you should be getting to. What are you doing after 5? What are you doing on the weekends? How are you answering these questions? Are you waiting until you have the at-bat and are sitting at the kitchen table to answer these questions? Or are you providing all these answers and information to the consumer in advance of even getting the call?
Right.
Right. The kinds of conversations we're having with startups now are very different. Is they're coming in saying that I've done this before. I've built a business. I've sold my home service business. I'm going to do it again. And this time I'm not going to build a big office. I'm not going to have a ton of staff. I'm going to leverage AI and digital and outsourcing and the top vendors for everything. My EBIT is going to be through the roof because my cost, I've got them just nailed down in as much automation in play as possible. But I want to be the company that I would appreciate working with as a consumer who appreciates efficiencies.
Yep.
And they're starting with just them and their technicians and everything automated behind the scenes.
Yep. And make it a great customer experience when that touch point happens, right? And those are the companies that are going to win.
I want to provide the service that I would appreciate as a customer. That's a very important factor.
So you and I are in an interesting position as we've spent the last forever, helping, we know that consumers are getting further through the buying process without a contractor. That has happened. That's abundantly clear. And we have, in your world and in my world, we've been helping facilitate that engagement and that process on a contractor's website, GMB, and through e-commerce. And now we're at a position where now the customer is going to go further through the buying process, but even further upstream of the contractor by using AI or some conversational, like you'll use conversational chat to configure a system for your home. I mean, people are doing it for. I'm doing it for golf clubs for my son. I want to talk about golf later, but golf.
We can do that. We can do that. I'm
Um,
actually still sore.
So yeah. I mean, we use that as an example. Like I've been watching YouTube videos. I've been fitted. I've taken him to swing some clubs. I'm talking to a neighbor, but I'm using AI to help me really parse down what is it that I need to be concerned about in this selection of a $1,500 purchase, let alone a $25,000 purchase that I know nothing about, that I also don't enjoy when I'm talking about HVAC. But anyhow, yeah, it's an interesting place for us as operators of businesses in this space.
It is. I don't want to be ignorant and say that, a digital marketing company is going to exist in its current form, doing its current process. I think that would be dumb. I'm all in.
The consumer
evolve.
is more aware and more educated than it's ever been, and it's becoming light speeds every single day.
Yeah.
You know, like I think back when I started my career, and there's no YouTube, pagers and maps, like actual maps you had to flip through to go to find addresses and stuff, right? Like we didn't have this technology. And you had to the process in the home, you had to be super patient with the consumer because they didn't understand anything. Now you're 100% right. Now you walk into the home, they're like, hey, yeah, my capacitor is broken, it costs this much. You can order it on Amazon, I can have it here in 2 days if you don't have it on your truck.
Don't lie,
Lowe's
because
will
they're
deliver it this afternoon.
You're recording your conversation. I mean, they got Claude on recording everything, giving you feedback on whether it's truthful or not.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting where it's all going, right? And the contractors that are coming out now, these 18 to 23-year-olds that are getting into contracting right now, they have a leg up on technology, even more so than I do.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like they're going to revolutionize this even further, which is amazing to me.
Yep.
Love
Jennifer, pardon me, Chuck.
No, you're good.
You just made me think of a great idea. Here's your next business. You can have this one. I get the next one. This one. So like there's obviously companies like Rilla. I'm trying to think of what Ciro, and there's others that do call recording for the benefit of the contractor to make sure they're adhering to their sales process, not missing opportunities, which is brilliant, right? But it's really the benefit is for the contractor. Imagine a face-to-face human scenario. Like consumers are not, the whole idea of, hey, this call may be recorded for quality and training purposes, like that exists and has existed forever, consent, whatever. But imagine sitting down at a kitchen table with the homeowner when you finally get in the home and saying, hey, we're going to do this. I'm going to record and it's going to send a transcription to both of us so that you don't miss a thing I said and I don't miss a thing you said. And it tells us each what our bet. And that, by the way, that can be done today for nothing, right?
Yeah.
But imagine like how many times have you been to a doctor's? No, I'll put it in another perspective. How many times has your husband, Michael, right?
Yep.
Been to the doctor, came back, and you're like, what would the doctor say? He's like, I don't know. like imagine that summary that is like, and it's not one-sided, right? It's the communication summary. So
all I do is I have applaud necklaces, I have applaud wristband. I just throw that on him, and I'm like, I can watch the conversation while he's at the doctor's office. I'm like, see, told you so. See, told you so. Look, you got a doctor at home.
No, exactly. So funny.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because before all this came out, 2 years ago, before Rilla came out, I was doing virtual ride-alongs where I just had my guys put their cell phone in their pocket and hit mute, so I could listen to them while they were in the home. Right? I had to take the notes. I had to do it. Now, literally within 2 years, there's a program that's doing that and giving real time. You missed this. This isn't part of your process. You skipped this. This was great. Like it's giving you real time feedback. That's huge, right? Like it really is amazing. And applaud. Like I mean, you can start simple, right? But what is it that you're already doing, right? Like that, putting the cell phone in their pocket and hitting mute. What is it that you're already doing there that could be sped up by something that's on the market? Now, Rilla was just about to come out when I was doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was in the process. It just wasn't launched yet.
Mhm.
Like where else? Where else are you in your day to day
Everywhere.
not seeing that you can adapt the technology that's already there?
Yeah,
Right.
everywhere. Everywhere. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing half-day workshops, and I can accomplish in a half-day workshop with a group full of 50 contractors. I can finish what they should have had done in the last 10 years in a 4-hour workshop.
Totally.
So we're not at the point where we can make excuses and say that I'm busy being busy, rocking chair syndrome. That's why I don't have job descriptions and SOPs and KPIs and pro formas, and I'm not analyzing my financials, and I'm not analyzing my P&L, and I don't have a roadmap for 2025, and I don't have a roadmap for 2026, and I can't look historically at where my issues are, or gaps, or overspending or underspending, or any, like, you can do everything in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And
But they don't want to. That's the point, Jen, is that's the stuff that contractors don't want to do. We want to fix things. We want to go in at home, work with our hands. We don't want to work
But
with this all the time.
here's the thing. And this is, I agree with that. I start every business saying, what are you? And they always start with, I'm a dealer or I'm a contractor. Bullshit. You decided you wanted to become an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And that carries a different weight. That carries different responsibility, different liability. Your team needs you to be a different person other than just a contractor. Stop saying it. Like, technically, the term contractor was to prevent them from being taxed, or manufacturers or distributors from you being an employee or licensee or referred to as like, no, you're not. You're an entrepreneur. And if we don't get there quickly right now, like, take the contractor hat off. That's great. You have a specialty. What that means is you're a SME. You're a subject matter expert on contracting. You are not a contractor. You're an entrepreneur. And we've got to move that needle really fast. I'm sorry, but I get all feisty about that stuff.
Absolutely. You have to say, okay, I'm not good at it. I don't want to do those things. How do I get it done?
Yeah.
You still have to do the things. Like, the more you avoid it, the worse it's going to be in the long
Well, and
run.
I think now it's too easy. Like, it's too easy to transition from I'm a contractor to I'm an entrepreneur, and I can get my shit together really, really quick, because this technology is going to help me learn faster, do more faster with less people, less background, less history, less knowledge, less everything. It's just,
Well, you talk about Claude, right? There's a real easy one that people can adopt right there. And there's other, Rilla does it too. There's other technologies out there, but Claude is what, $200 to get the device and whatever monthly subscription it is. But you literally could have that on all day long, right? Go into 5 different homes. It's recording all the conversation. You literally come home and say, okay, I need to type up an estimate based on what me and Mrs. Jones talked about. Like, the information's all right there. You just copy and paste. You can pump out estimates in literally a fraction of the time of what you used to be able to, sitting there typing. You don't even have to type anymore.
no, copy paste, throw it in GPT. You can
Yeah.
ask it to build the entire proposal for you. You can ask it to pull all the certificate numbers, the matchups, everything. And then you can copy that, drop it in Gamma app. It'll build the entire presentation in a matter of 2 seconds. The technology that is in this space, I mean, most of the contractors are struggling with the fact that the technology platforms are in this space have a lack of open APIs, a lack of connectivity, closed-minded, closed-loop applications. It's requiring the contractors to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 different pieces of software that don't talk to each other, aren't integrated, don't work well together, don't mesh well together. And I think everyone's going to have they're going to have a good coming to Jesus over the next 6 months with that philosophy, because while they were building all these closed loop applications, now you have a different issue, which is AI in an operator format has to be able to communicate with these applications I mean, no different. That's why we've moved away from WordPress and moved to an AI enabled website. We've got to take every lead form needs to be AI enabled and tested with an AI operator. Contractor Commerce needs to be tested with an AI operator to see if an operator can get through the process,
Yeah.
right? Chatbots got to go away if an operator can't connect with them. And there's a huge portion of those that are not cooperative in an AI environment. But there's no sector or piece of the supply chain that shouldn't be reevaluating itself, from the contractor to the marketing agency to all of the software that supports them, to the manufacturers and distributors who have also withheld information and connectivity. I mean, the whole supply chain needs a really good tail whipping.
And it's coming.
You know, and
It's coming.
I want to go backwards just for a second, Paul. You mentioned something early on, memberships, which is one of my favorite things, right? You know, people, I hear two sides, right? I hear, oh, memberships, everybody's selling memberships. Nobody's going to buy them. Well, on the other side, I hear that memberships models are the way of the future, and every single company has one, right? So there's two sides of it. So if you're a contractor and you don't have a membership model, I'm going to give an example. I know a company that's been in business for 30 years. They have 4 employees. They tried to sell about 2 years ago. I was looking at it to buy it myself, and they wanted a significant amount for their business. The first question I asked is, how many members do you have? 0.
Yeah.
I said, okay, and you want how much for the business? I said, I have no, well, I know my clients, they're going to call every year. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so, and Plod or anything you order, for the most part today, there's a membership tied to it. Sure, you can get the free version. Sure, there is, you know, there is different levels of the membership, but the consumer is so used to a membership. It's how do you present the value behind your membership, right? And I don't know about you, but I want peace of mind, right? Like, I don't want to have to think about when I have to change my oil in my car, right? And that's what a membership is.
Yeah.
Paul, give me some things that you see your clients using Contractor Commerce for memberships.
Well, a couple things on memberships, and then I have a question for you right after this. So
Sure.
I think consumers in general are getting membership fatigue. It's really easy to subscribe to things. It's really easy to become a member of things. So if people are like me, I go through membership bankruptcy probably twice a year. I'll go through and just be like, who's watching Disney Plus? What are you watching? Bluey's on YouTube, X. And I'll cut things off until it hurts. And I went through this process 6 months ago. There's the most like viral, whatever LinkedIn post I ever did was posting a screenshot of my daughter's reaction when I cut off Spotify. I went to the free version. And you'll have to go see it. It's like, OMG, I'm dying. What did you do to me? I can't live like this. And it's really controversial. It had like hundreds of comments of people going back and forth. But the point is, you have to become an essential membership, right? And I say, so again, I try not to overemphasize this point, but our best customers include a free filter delivery in their membership. The filter delivery is central because it's a physical item in a digital world where you're not going to remember that there's value exchange. So it's all about value exchange. Then the other the other problem I see why people don't sign up for memberships is most of the things that are outlined in memberships are from with no disrespect to any of the legacy training organizations that exist, but like those things are all just modern requirements of a customer. 24-hour responsiveness, free or whatever. Those things are like people just expect those things.
It was great as a membership 15 years ago.
Yeah, you expect those things. So our most successful customers, I'm thinking of one in particular. I've been talking about Greg McAfee a lot. The guy inspires me. He's in Dayton, Ohio, which is not a booming metropolis. He has sold 6,000 memberships since August of 2023 that include filter delivery. 6,005. And hopefully, Greg, I can just realize we're live. Greg also lost over 100 pounds, and he's jacked, and is just doing it the right way.
I love that.
Amazing,
Love
amazing.
that.
But in a sleepy market, Dayton, Ohio, that does not have a lot of height. This is not the Research Triangle or DFW Metroplex, right? But 6,003 from our system, orders have been fulfilled, and orders have multi-filters.
Wow.
It's August of 2023. We're not
That's
even
impressive
yet. So again, just added value. But I want to ask a question of you.
Sure.
So you described a tech-centric kind of lean operating customer first contractor a couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me thinking of what I'm seeing in the industry today. So we're going to kind of step up and go analog a little bit. So obviously we're in a wave of consolidation. We're in a wave of private equity money. We've got billion-dollar buyouts happening. Like, that is generally good for our industry and good for everyone in this room, and has been good
This
for you.
happened, last week?
Yep. So from the consumer perspective, I want to take it down to like what I'm hearing from my neighbors. And what I'm hearing from my neighbors are that, a minimum efficiency non-branded system, or even a branded system, is $26,000, $28,000, and that there's overhead, obviously, of these huge companies. And I think about the tech-centric lean company that you described, and I guess I'm just trying. What I'm trying to ask is, do you see a world where the pressure of investment continues to rise costs for the consumer, not just the pressure of investment, but the pressure of the manufacturer supply chain and materials and tariffs and all those sort of things, where a simple air conditioning system costs so much? Or do you see a world where the smaller, lean, tech-centric company, who may or may not be invested in from someone else, can do the work honestly and proudly at half of the margin? So I'm just curious what you see.
Yes. The more efficient and lean your business supply chain, we're not going to be able to do that with manufacturers and so forth, right? They've got their own issues. But once it lands in your piece of the supply chain, yes, the higher efficient you operate, right, the less cost you have, and the faster you can react and move, and the less, quite frankly, it's payroll, buildings, right? Those are the things. If we can reduce those expenses and give the people on your team, free them up from the mundane, the repetitive, the duplicate processes, the inefficiencies, and so forth, and you can give consumers a better experience, then technically you can compete on price. Because a lot of the big companies are, you know what it's like to change a big company. For us, it's like moving an enormous ship. It's very difficult for us to make the moves that we've made in the last year, because it's like moving the Titanic without chaos, and people freaking out. So yes, they absolutely can. And if they want to go to market and compete on price, this is the opportunity for a small business to win and go ham, right? Compared to some of these companies that don't have the means or the ability to be able to make these moves quickly.
So I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction, Paul.
Okay.
We were doing $20 million in sales, right? We started our company in 2011. We grew it to $20 million in sales in 11 years, basically. I had 40 people in my back end, in my office. And that's not managers, that's CSRs, dispatchers, back end.
Mm-hmm.
The way that technology is today, 2 years later, I could have cut that probably down to 10 or 12 people. But I would not have got rid of those people. I would have moved them from the back end to the front end. I would have used their knowledge that they have on the back end, answering the phones, talking to clients, dispatching the guys. I would have made them tech oriented. They have a general basis of what it takes to do HVAC, plumbing, electrical, all that stuff, right? So I would have put them client facing. And I did this with a few people, women especially, right? The gals in the office, get them in the field. They shine. There's a wave of hungry, young, amazing women technicians coming. It is like I experimented with this, Paul, and I knew a girl with less knowledge than a tech that had 30 years in the industry. She blew him away in sales because she paid attention, she cared, she was trusting, she was friendly. She did things above and beyond that he would do in the home,
Mhm.
right? So that's where I would go with it. Secondly, okay, just as the consumer is more educated now, the business owner is more educated now. Okay. Now, when I thought that, I had to take a look at my business and look at that I was making 2% profit, that is unacceptable. Contractors now know their worth, and I think by dropping their prices isn't going to be the thing. I don't think they should. I really don't. Because if you think about it this way, right? I did an analysis with my guys, and I did a lot of tech training. That was my thing. I was a technician for a lot of years, Paul. I would tell my guys this. They would say, well, we can't charge that. And I'd say, listen, we're looking at a 2% profit this year, right? You guys have school, we have all this technology, you have nice trucks, all these tools, and we're getting a 2% profit with all this risks and liabilities. Like, that doesn't make sense. The last time you went and had dinner and someone served you, what did you leave for a tip? Was it 2%? No, it was 20% or better if you had great service. So now you have to take all the tools, the technology, the education, you start to add all that up, and licensing, right? You should be making 20, 25, 30% profit. Retail for a pair of $200 jeans, what did it cost to make? $20. So I think business owners should look at it as like, now's the time to make more money. You're
Yeah.
taking all the risks. You're on the road. Let's face it. You're away from your family. There's 8 to 12 to 14-hour days when you first start up, right? Or more. Like, reap the rewards too. Now, can you give the consumer a better experience when you're smaller and with the technology? Absolutely. But that shouldn't be you shouldn't be doing it for less. You should actually
No.
charge more,
But
right?
the thing is, you can, if you run a lean and mean machine, I've got contractors that don't look traditional at all, that are sitting at 30% margins just because of efficiency, and they're winning the bid at less of a price than the private equity group down the street. They're
Well,
doing both.
but here's the other part too that people don't understand. Why is private equity buying up all these companies? Because they're buying warehouses full of products. So what you could get, what a $20 million a year company could get a system for versus one of these firms, Jen, is half the price. And so actually, the bigger 100 million, $200 million companies, they're actually going to be lowering the price because they can, because it's still baked into their margins.
Mhm.
So this is where you have to look at both sides.
Mhm.
Now, if I go back and look at the 9 years where I wasn't charging correctly, Jen, 9 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
If I would have been charging correctly all those 9 years, where would my company have been? So I think there's a significant balance. You want to
Both. Agreed.
take care of the consumer, but you also want to take care of your family and your
100%.
employees.
Yeah.
100%. Paul, what do you think?
Well, I have a wild idea. One, this is a great discussion. One of the thoughts that is in my head a lot that I'll share publicly for the first time. When I first started in the industry, it was 2008. I think it was just at the tail of the housing crisis. And I was big in my customers, I was in Colorado, were big in new construction, tons of construction. All the massive home builders, all the big names were in Denver because there's so much dirt, just building houses. And I remember a contractor called me, and he was in Littleton, Colorado, and he was going through my pricing because I worked for a manufacturer, distributor. And he was preparing a bid for one of the big builders. I won't say which one it is, but there's like the top 3 or 4 this time. And I remember on his submittal, he had to include 1, his P&L, but 2, his personal income down to the job level, meaning for a one house with at the time, a 13 SEER, outdoor unit and an 80% 5-ton indoor unit, what percentage of that job translated into the owner of the company's pocket? Brutal, gross to net, right? Completely transparent. He had to submit that with all the other new construction companies that were coming along. And I've never forgotten about that, but I always thought it was weird. But the thing that comes to my mind now is the only reason that was possible, the only reason it was possible was because the builder had all the leverage, nothing to lose, only to gain. They had all the chips. There was a complete disparate, because there was also a lot of capacity out there, right? There was tons of people who want to do the work. So they got it down to the grain, man, like had them against the wall. I think about today's consumer, and I think about what we're actually seeing in the market is a shift in leverage because access to information, right? I see a shift in leverage, and I see consumers obviously getting more information and being more leveraged when they go
having more options,
right? So I say all that to say, now I'm going to go back to the conversation you had, or you were both having, like this discussion. And this, by the way, this statement is rooted in bias because this is just what I've seen and what I've been around. But like, I see how much opportunity there is I see how expensive it is to run a contracting company. I see how much opportunity there is to make margin if done well. I see the consumer experience being, inconsistent across the industry. Then I see the giant manufacturers who are mostly publicly held companies, and I see them and I see their brands being affected by this. And I see a world, I don't know if it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I don't know. But at some point, manufacturers are going to get very, very serious about an omnichannel direct-to-consumer experience. And they've tried it before. Right now, Jennifer.
They're already, in every other country. Every other country, they do not rely on the contractor to find the consumer. The contractor is labor to do the install. They go direct to market, and they are what's happening in the background right now and what they are prepping for right now. You are 1,000% correct.
And I've felt so passionately about this. And Jennifer, I feel like there are 3 or 4 people who will agree with me. And of course, we can see the other side of the coin. Of course, we know about the labor shortage. Of course, we know about the last mile of an installation being that local contractor. And I'm very pro those things. That's my customer today. But I see a world where, again, there's more leverage and there's more technology to do it. And I worry about the traditional contractor, at least in my lifetime, of what's going to happen. And so like, that's part of why we built Contractor Commerce is, hey, let's go as fast as we can to deliver that direct to consumer experience from the local contractor, the person who should be benefiting from this. And I, again, I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy theorist or like it's coming and you're going to left behind. But Jennifer, you said it, like,
no, it is.
These conversations, they're not new. Like,
this is not new.
Happening.
Yeah. So. You're looking at who owns the home and who has direct access to the consumer. So, and this can go back to memberships, but when you think about, you have manufacturer direct to consumer, that is happening. They are prepping for that. I guarantee that, without disclosing a lot. You have energy companies who already own the house. They are also going direct to consumer, right? You have technology providers who own the wall, whether it's the thermostat or the alarm system or whatnot, that already owns the house in their mind. They're also going direct to consumer, and they have the ability to sell in advance and subcontract the labor. Yep. You have a new owner of homes. Take a look at BlackRock and the number of homes that are being picked up by conglomerates that are now VRBO. That's a different transaction. They're taking opportunity off the market, right? And then you have, this base of consumers that now owns access to all of the information and answers that is necessary to make decisions. So we just don't have time to like I keep saying, get our shit together. We need to move on this. This is not where I just sit back and put my head in the sand and keep running as if all this stuff isn't happening behind the scenes. I don't think that's a good move. This is why we're all out here providing content like this, information like this, technology access, trainings, workshops, why I don't get to sleep in my bed for 9 months a year.
Right.
I
Buckle up.
You're right.
Buckle up, Jen. You know, we're almost out of time. And Paul, thank you so much. It was great to meet you.
You got to come
I
back.
definitely, yeah. I had to stop myself because I got about 10 other thoughts on top of this. So there might be a round 2 on this. So I appreciate it. It was super nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. These types of conversations, bring me a lot of energy, and I'll close with like, all this technology lets us work faster, do better things, be more efficient. But like, there's something about like the human connection that will ultimately win, I think, right? It's the ability to bridge that gap. And that's where at least my hope is for my contractors and customers in the industry, is that the human touch protects them from, what's inevitably coming.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of it's never about price. It's about how the experience. Like I see it time and time again. You go on vacation, if you have a great experience, you're willing to pay a lot for that.
Yep.
And that's true across the board for anything. So
yeah, I agree completely. I think this is a good way to wrap this up, you guys. This is all this technology, it's designed to be able to free you up to do what matters. Right. And that it's to be able to spend time with people and to provide an amazing experience that feels different from everyone else. And if you can make it feel different, and if the technology can get you out of all the administrative things that occupy your space so you can focus on HLAs, like write down HLAs. HLA are high leveraged activities for humans to spend their time on. You got to know that list. What are the HLAs for your business? And if it's not an HLA and it can be automated, it can be outsourced, it can be done with AI, like get it out of the way so that you can focus on what matters.
Almost forgot.
You're amazing.
Everybody, Jen had a birthday recently. So if you run into her or see her, blow her text platform up, send her a happy birthday. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So
thank you.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Thank you. I'm 50.
Nice.
Paul, you didn't know that, huh?
I did not know
I get to be a grandma this year.
Congratulations.
By October. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love it.
You're awesome.
When was your birthday?
My birthday was, I don't know, the 26th, whatever day that was, a couple days ago.
Well, happy birthday and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Paul, you're amazing. We would love to have you back.
Please, anytime. This is a high leverage activity for me and I enjoy it.
I love that. We're creating clones of ourselves, right? So we can work while we sleep, do something else.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, thank you guys so much for the time.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody that joined. You guys, you can check it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and so forth. We always do these live uncut. So sorry about the S-bombs. We don't cut those out. Other than that, have a wonderful day. Thanks for spending time with us.
Awesome.